What is growing on? This is going to be a bit of a online store nursery update video, and the nursery is rocking. Everything is back after that cold winter. Pretty soon I'll have a nursery like this, the new location to show you. Taking a little longer than expected. We just did an install last week for a friend of mine that lives around the corner. It was kind of a phase 2, what we called the Corona garden. We actually started this one at the beginning of the coronavirus. He's like, hey Pete, I want to get a garden, take this section of my yard, turn it out. It was a really cool project. I probably should have filmed it, and now he just called me back for phase 2. Hey Pete, I want to finish the other side of my yard, and we brought him some japoticabas, a bunch of pear trees, a bunch of stone fruits, mulberries, and one of those 7-gallon japoticabas that we brought him actually already had flowers on it. Ryan is over here today. We're making some irrigation adjustments, changing out some of these heads to a more efficient head, basically. Also putting longer leashes on them. I'll show you that real quick, and then we're heading to the online store area. All right, one of our original OG Jabo zones here on the farm, and this area has actually been in place now for almost 5 years, and we're finally swapping over some of these heads. And what we originally had on here were these little short leashes. You got one of those to show us there, Mr. Rye? Where are the old junky ones?
These things, cap always flies off.
Cap always comes off. Leashes were too short, and show them we're changing out the line too to something a little bit skinnier. A little harder, a little difference in size.
It's actually a little thicker.
A little thicker, so. Hey, tell them about that red Jabo we brought Josh.
Might have had a flower on it.
At what gallon size?
7 gallon.
All right, guys, so all of these 7 gallons that we have are at a fruiting age, ready to flower, already starting to throw flowers. And what happened was we had probably about 100 of these, and we started putting them into 15 gallons. So these are all the ones that have gotten a little bit bigger. And unfortunately, when you go from that 7 to that 15 gallon and that tree's fruiting in the 7 gallon, it is going to slow down the fruiting process, stepping up the pot size. It's going to spend a little bit more time putting out roots and growing. But once it does start flowering again, it's going to be going nuts. So you can keep it in that 7 gallon. You can wait for it to flower in the 15 gallon. New growth on these reds are just unbelievable. You can see it gets a really neat orange, reddish color to it. Yellow when it first comes out. And these are mostly all reds. I think we got a couple of grimmels mixed in here, right? Here's a grimmel.
Yellow, Vexador.
You got a yellow over there hiding? Oh, I see the Vexador up in there. The true blue grape. I know I saw a grimmel this morning. Here's one of them, huh?
Yeah, there's an Oriana back here somewhere.
Longer leaves. So here's another grimmel. Here's the new growth on the grimmel. And guys, if you haven't had the grimmel japoticaba, it's like the biggest of the japoticabas. It has a little bit of a thick skin, but the size of the fruit is absolutely incredible. Really pretty tree too. Doesn't quite put on that orange red like you're gonna get out of the red hybrid, or even on the Sabra. Have another red over here, which is already sold. This is going to a client. This is a 25 gallon. This one's been fruiting for a couple of years. Actually has a couple of fruits on it right now. Oh, you kind of see that little guy back in there. That other little guy back in there. So somebody bought a fruiting tree. That's the last of my big ones that are fruiting, but all of these 7s and all these 15s are really close. Let's head over to that online store. All right, heading over to that online store zone, and I just thought I'd stop in that newest Jabo area. This is the one we put in last year. Everything's doing great in this area. Plants are really growing. Really enjoying that dappled light understory, and look at these yellow japoticabas. These are big 7 gallons. These things do awesome in deep shade, dappled light. I find they almost thrive on neglect. The one in front of my house is covered in fruit right now. I just harvested about 25 the other day. And it gets no love, no irrigation out there in the front yard. But look at all these japoticabas. Jabo land. These are all grimmels. We have grimmels for days. We do have a fair amount of Sabra, but we try to stick to the more rare varieties with plenty of hybrids and plenty of scarlets and a lot of those varieties that have sold out on my online store, like the Campo Ramon. We have in bigger pots, just no longer available for the online store, but these red hybrids are all ready to fruit. We're about to have like 500 fruiting reds, not counting my big mature ones. So got japoticabas. And another overflowing Jabo zone. This one has lots of whites in it. some guavajo, and some other different varieties that we've just started kind of collecting. And the neighbors' dogs are going off. Hopefully I can get them to go inside before I finish this video. All right, I gotta keep my voice down. I think the neighbors' dogs are finally gone, giving me a second to get over here and get you guys some filming, talk about the plants a little bit. So tons of mulberries in stock right now. I've had a ton of people request the Thai dwarf and the world's best. That's the one that was just in Jim's video, which he talks about being one of the most productive mulberries. Also something to bring to market. If you guys plant a 4-inch mulberry now, next year at this time you'll have hundreds of mulberries. These trees are overproducers. They grow super fast. I can't say enough about the mulberries and just how they thrive on neglect. Super easy to grow. And this variety in particular is just a heavy producer. This is the dwarf Gurmichama, very kind of rare, delicious fruits, interesting smelling flowers, kind of a collector's item. So coming back into season, now is the time to plant cassava. This plant thrives on neglect, super easy to grow, makes a cool looking plant in the landscape too. Our most popular varieties are the Togo, CMC 40, and the green variety. We've got lots of stevia still. I see some bay rum plants banging out back there. Some bigger bananas, probably not for the online store. This year we have tons of new figs available too, guys. Probably has 6, 7, 8 varieties of figs that we don't typically carry. Lots of the Mexican sunflower, guys. This is your, manure crop. This is your green kind of chop and drop, I guess you could say, pound for pound equal to chicken manure. Grows super fast, complete source of nutrition for a rabbit, and also makes beautiful flowers when you let it get big. That plant is just unreal vigorous. You can't kill it. Lots of this variegated society garlic. I just used a bunch of this on a job. It really looks very similar to like the Aztec grass that typically gets planted in the landscape, but this one has the edible flower, and it's a society garlic for bringing in the pollinators, beneficial predatory insects. Lots of elderberry. If you guys aren't growing elderberry yet, you're just slacking. Everybody needs to have an elderberry plant, whether it's for making syrup, attracting beneficial predatory insects, whatever it may be. Lots of Turk's cap. We carry the white, the pink, and the red. All beautiful plants from the landscape. They grow super fast, edible flowers. Lots of Barbados cherries. This one, guys, is like having a vitamin C store in your backyard. It's originally what they grew acerola for vitamin C. They say 1 cherry is equivalent to eating 10 oranges vitamin C content wise. So that is another really awesome one. More mulberries, quinoa hibiscus, edible flowers, edible leaves. I'm seeing some of the celosia coming up. Do have some blueberries, one that we don't normally carry. Lots of peanut butter fruit. Lots of sweet almond. You can see at a very small size, these guys start flowering, and they were just pruned back. Very cold hardy too. Probably one of my favorite plants for bringing in beneficial and predatory insects. It's that time of year again. We have roselle. A lot of this is getting its first crop, as you saw with Nick out there in the garden, and you'll get a fall crop also. Lots of Cattleya guavas. Guys, these trees are outperformers. They go nuts. They're beautiful trees in the landscape. They fit in the front yard. The yellow variety is my favorite, but the red is also quite good. And you can see these bigger trees over here, ready to be pruned, that I planted a couple of years ago. These things are just going nuts. They're beautiful trees. They can be kept in the front yard like that umbrella ligustrum. This is one we can slide into an HOA. They obviously need to be pruned a little bit, so they're not a great example. They're a little overgrown right now, but if we brought them down a little bit, exposed a little bit of that trunk, it's just a gorgeous tree with a really nice wood on the trunk. And kind of sliding over to this side, we've got some more of the sweet almond. I carry a dwarf and a full-size variety. That is the full size. Lots of our native coral honeysuckle. Lots of our native Fakahatchee grass, and then our most popular grass that we can barely keep in stock. This is the one that I grow in my agroforestry system. This is the vetiver grass. This is great for erosion, great for chop and drop. I even know some people that use it for fodder for animals. The roots on this can travel 15 foot, so it's really good for stabilizing a bank. Any place that you have any type of erosion issue. Lots of garlic chives. Going nuts in here, some different grasses, and here's all those figs I was telling you about. Probably have, 10 different varieties of figs this year. Here's lots of milkweed. This is the tropical milkweed. Some more of those pink Turk's caps, and think while I'm here, I'm going to eat a flower. You guys think I should forage a little bit? So I like to just grab the flower, and the sweetest part is inside that cap. So once you get the cap off, the sugar is at the end. The whole flower is edible. And it's got a really sweet taste to it, like pure sugar. Breakfast in the nursery. So Turk's cap hibiscus. Here's some more of our bigger cassava. We struggle to keep this variety in stock. This is that Togo variety. It's supposed to last a little bit longer in the ground, be a little bit easier to work with. Most of the people that have tried growing cassava down here go to this variety. It's probably one of the best. Lots of figs, Texas everbearing, green egg figs, Ishka figs, brown turkey figs. Lots of our specialty roses. This is a Florida cracker variety. If you guys want to grow roses down here, I got this from a good friend of mine that passed away, John Starnes, and he was a rose breeder collector. And this was probably one of the best varieties he had for growing here in Florida. Makes a pretty pink rose too. Lots of mulberries, guys. This one right here is probably the mulberry for growing for a rootstock. So if you want to try grafting mulberries, you have a ton of nematode problems. This 6th Street is probably the best, most nematode resistant rootstock. Also just makes a really nice fruit, a good sized giant fruit. Really exciting for grafting. This is probably the most popular one. You see the Australian on this quite often, the Pakistani on this most often. There's a guy named Craig up in Gainesville that's done some studying with this and some trial and error, and this is the variety that they've chosen. I know Josh is also using this variety over there. Lots of cat whiskers, some more of those figs. This is a white variety. You can tell it's got a little bit of a different looking leaf to it. Stevia, if you guys want to sweeten your drink. I use stevia on the regular. I like liquid. I don't like the powder. I think the powder tastes like a chemical, but this can be made into a liquid form, and I think it's great for teas or lemonades or sweetening anything. And the dogs are back. Let's see if we can keep this going. Lots of yarrow, edible leaf hibiscus. I've been planting a ton of these, guys. I have 4 or 5 different varieties. They do awesome down here. They thrive in the summertime heat. They're 4 times more nutritious than a regular spinach. This is the one that Nick's putting into his hippie mix. Cranberry hibiscus. Everybody needs to have this one. It's another one that has a really nice edible leaf on it, kind of a sweet tang. It's quite delicious. I like it on a sandwich or mixed into a salad for some color. There's some of our Coreopsis tick seed. That is a native coming back. Lots of different varieties of chaya. And this is that big leaf hibiscus. There's some common names for this. I like to call this just large leaf hibiscus. You can eat the entire leaf on this. 4 times as nutritious as regular spinach. Just gets big enough to be used as just like a wrap. So you can put your sandwich inside of it. No bread required. A little more breakfast. It does have a slight, this one's not as bad as some of the others, but a little bit of like a slime to it. And that's good. That's actually kind of lining our insides a bit. But that's the only thing I've heard from people. It's a little bit on the slimy side. I don't find this variety to be as slimy as the skinny leaf, but this one does great. This is that skinny leaf variety. Obviously we spray nothing out here on the plants. We use no chemicals, insecticides, herbicides, so I'm safe out here eating this stuff. This is the skinnier one. I think they have a nice sweet flavor to them too. Enough of me eating hibiscus. Coming up over here on the other side is the cherry of the Rio Grande. Guys, if you're in Florida and you want to grow a Bing-like cherry, this is the cherry to grow. It's also very cold hardy. I've seen this growing all the way up into North Florida. Really does well. It's a pretty tree in the landscape. I have a couple in my yard now that are 15, 20 feet that I planted when I first moved in here. Some more of our figs and lots of mints. Lots of herbs always available through the online store. One of our more popular tomatoes is the, I don't think I have that over here. I thought it was the Everglades tomato. These are some peppers. There is some native coffee, some rue. I was just Googling how to keep neighbors' dogs away, and it said rue was one of the things to plant. I guess dogs don't like it, so might see a hedge of that along my fence here before the next video. Here's that skinny leaf variety, which not long and skinny, but kind of wide and skinny. So there's so many different varieties of this. We have this one, we have this one, And we have this one, and I've got one more that's a little bit different. And once again, these can all be mixed into a lettuce mix. So you could put katuk in there, you could put moringa in there, you could put these in there, you could put the cranberry hibiscus in there. It is possible to have a summertime lettuce mix, which we're calling the hippie mix down here in Florida. So stuff will grow here in the summer, you just gotta grow the right stuff. And if you're up north, you're in a more cold climate, this can be just grown as an annual. I have them die back here in the wintertime. You get so much harvest off of this throughout the season. It's not a big deal if it dies back in the wintertime. We just replant again in spring. Yakun, beautiful plants, low lot, lots of that Thai pepper leaf. This is probably one of the most beautiful spinaches we carry. This is the Okinawan spinach, very similar to the longevity spinach, but has a beautiful purple to the underside of the leaf. This is one I struggled for a while to get going here because of my squirrel population. They love to eat this plant. We finally have enough of it we can share with the squirrels. So some for us, some for them. Some of the different monsteras that we have, a couple more cranberry hibiscus, and then there's that longevity spinach. And this one just doesn't have the red at the bottom of the leaves, but this is super medicinal, super nutritious. And these spinaches can also be mixed into like that hippie mix, something you can grow and eat all summer long. See a lot of our turmerics that are starting to come back up. Here's our variegated spiraling ginger, and then lots of sisu spinach. And I'm going to avoid that zone because of the neighbor's dog. So as soon as I start talking again, they're going to start barking. I'm going to try to wrap this thing up. Lots of the sisu spinach in this zone. And African potato mint is coming back up. That is a beautiful ground cover that makes a little potato. The dogs finally went in. Waited about 15 minutes. Came back out here to wrap this up for you guys. And just thought I'd check on the Vitex real quick. And this is another one. Super cold hardy. Flowers most of the year. Very medicinal. It makes these beautiful purple cones. One of my favorites for attracting beneficial and predatory insects. I'd say that's probably Vitex, sweet almond, and firebush. Here's some more of the cherry of the Rio Grande. And a ton more figs, Suriname cherries, and a lot more of these edible leaf hibiscus. Oh, Rose of Sharon, another one that has an edible flower. And we'll go over this way real quick and wrap it up. Lots of bananas. Most of these are for jobs and pickup. Looks like we've got some blackberries, more of the Vitex, some perennial peanut. That's one that we struggle to keep in stock. Makes an awesome ground cover. Yellow edible flowers, nitrogen fixing, does really well also. And here is our native red firebush. This one thrives here. If you guys don't have firebush growing for the butterflies, for the insects, for healing properties, this one is amazing. If you guys get a sting, a bite, a burn, you can just take the leaves, crush them up, put it on there, and you'll have instant relief. This plant is really amazing. I know people that have had poison ivy that made a poultice, take a bath in it, and it completely took away the itch. So not only a beautiful plant for the insects, the butterflies, it's also very beneficial for us, and it is native here in Florida. Lots of bananas, some more of the peanut butter fruit, Cattleya guavas that were all just getting a little bit too big for the 4-inch pots. Those are going to 1 gallons here soon. And then grapes. We've got some different varieties of muscadine grapes that do really well here in Florida. My favorite's probably the Southern Home. All these varieties are great though. The way to grow grapes is on a single wire. So you want to grow this on a piece of metal cable. You want to prune it back every year in the wintertime, and every summer, every spring they'll flush back out. Right now they have grapes on them, but the key to production with grapes is a wire and pruning. There's a guy by the name of Paul Zamota in the Bradenton area. He's kind of a great master. I have a video with him. I think we did a pruning video. I need to make another video with Paul, but muscadines I think are highly overlooked. They're absolutely delicious. They do have a thick skin and some seeds, so they're a little bit different than that table grape that we're used to, but they thrive and they grow down here in Florida with ease. Got some more figs over here, a couple of the bay rum, and I think I'm gonna go to the Jabo house. Stay tuned. Whoa, so look at the size of these cherry of the Rio Grandes. These guys are taller than my head. Most of these just got done fruiting and we've collected the seed and replanted it to get some more plants. So Most of the magic around here happens in the greenhouse. This is where most of the seed starting and propagation goes down. As you can see, we still have not got our frost cloth put away. It is time. We are finally at a point where we know we're not going to get frost again. And this is where we start a lot of our, as you can see, peanut butter fruit, pigeon pea. They have some celosia over here, and just a lot of our jipotacabos, passion fruit, lots of papayas in this area. Guys, if you aren't growing passion fruit, you need to plant one now. These vines can make 2,000 fruits a year. We mostly carry the purple possum variety. It's probably the sweetest in my opinion, and the most commonly available. This vine can grow up an oak tree. This can grow on a trellis. The flowers are just absolutely breathtaking, but the fruit are phenomenal. Wholesale, they're worth $1 a piece. Retail in the grocery store, you see them for $2 to $3, so they are high value fruit. There's some of our Cattleya guavas that haven't been pruned yet, really nice ones in 4-inch pots. What else do we got growing on over here? Do I see some little curry trees? Here's some of our breeder edible leaf hibiscus. This is where we get our cuttings from. Lots of butterfly pea. I also noticed that in the other side of the online store. If you guys want to make nature's Kool-Aid, that is the plant to do it with. Does great on a trellis. Really, really easy to grow. Lots of pigeon pea, gandules, nitrogen fixer. Oh, look at all these little guys. Okay, so there's that dwarf grimichama. Here's all the Cattleya guavas. Lots of strawberry tree. You can see a couple of ice cream bean kind of mixed in here. More edible leaf hibiscus. And this is the Patanga Jumbo. We do not have the Jipotacaba collector's pack. We're out of the small Sabra. But we have plenty of yellow. We have plenty of reds. We have plenty of scarlets. We have plenty of grimmels. I probably have more grimmel and red than anything right now. Thousands of reds, thousands of grimmels, because they are my favorite varieties. It can't hurt to have a bunch of those. If we don't sell them, they just turn into fruiting trees and become more valuable. So here's the Everglades tomato. This is a tomato that thrives through the summer down here in Florida, although it does make a tiny little tomato. So this is beyond a cherry. These guys are small. They don't have much of a shelf life, so they typically should be eaten almost when picked or a couple of hours before dinner or something like that. But every time you go out, you will find tomatoes on this plant. So that's what makes it so exciting. If it dies back, I've even found it'll reseed itself and come back up on its own. All right, I won't lie, one of those missed my mouth. The other one went in. Oh, got a 1-gallon Campo Ramon, not too many of those left. This is the big peanut butter fruit. Here's some good size, little beyond 1 gallon. We call these like a 2-gallon yellow Jipotacaba. Once again, these yellows just have the most amazing, soft, silky new growth on them. Probably one of my favorite features. Here's some big 3-gallon scarlets, guys. These are the quickest fruiting Jipotacaba. This one can fruit in 3 years. So we've got this one at 3 years. We've got the scarlet at 5 years. The scarlet at 3 years. The red hybrid at 5 years. Grimmel 7 to 10. Sabra 10 to 12. So some of these take a lot longer than others. We've got lots of pineapples, guys. Heirloom varieties, special varieties that have edible core. Not just your average top you're going to grow from the grocery store. These are varieties that have been grown in Florida now for a long time. Florida Elite, Florida Special. Pineapples that do awesome here. The way to start a pineapple is from a side pup, not really a top. It can take a couple of years. So once you plant the pineapple and it starts pupping, that's when you want to plant out those side pups. Lots of more edible leaf hibiscus, some perennial peanut coming up. What do we got here? I believe this is a special Costa Rican ice cream bean. Got that from a friend. And that's about all the exciting stuff going on in here right now. Whoa. Alright, so quick little online store update for you guys. I hope you're out there pounding dirt. I hope you're out there starting a food forest. I hope you're becoming less of a grass hole. It's 2023. Start a garden. Pound dirt.